Hey y'all, welcome back or welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Caitlin Peel and today I figured I'd tell you my engagement story. It's not exactly how I expected it to go at all, and it ended up being such a wonderful day, so I'm really excited to share all the details with you about that. So let's get started. Okay, before we get into it, pause this video and comment down below what you think, what type of ring I ended up getting. For all of you who already know, don't spoil it. I'm curious to see if people can guess correctly, because it's not the ring that I always thought I would get, but more on that later. I figured I'd talk about the engagement and how it went on the day of, and then get into a little bit more about my ring because it's very special and I love it a lot. So if you want to play the game, pause, comment down below what kind of ring you think I got, and see if you ended up being right at the end. So let's dive in though. Well, a little bit of background. The one thing that Matt wanted out of our entire engagement was to surprise me, because I am notoriously hard to surprise, because I think of every scenario in advance and I think of when the possibility of this and this and this, and I'm very hard to surprise. And I usually don't love surprises, but you know, it's like my engagement can be a surprise. And so but me being me, I had still looked back in, I don't know, March, looked at all the possible weekends, because I knew we were getting engaged soon. I looked at all the possible weekends of when we could engage. I had them listed out, and the last one that I thought would happen was Memorial Day weekend, because every year we go down to my family lake house, we get together with my whole family, and I was like, oh, that'll be a special place for me, I'll be with my family, it'll be nice. So I had pegged that as our weekend. All the other weekends ticked by, nothing happened. So I was like, okay, it's definitely happy Memorial Day weekend. I even spent 10 minutes on the phone with my mom explaining why I was so convinced of that. I had evidence, or so I thought, as to why I was happy that weekend. The weekend I actually got engaged was May 21st. And why I didn't think it was happening that day is because we had a very busy weekend ahead of us. We had our friend Brad's going away party on Saturday. We had the ballet with his parents on Sunday, and so I just didn't see a possibility of when that could happen. And then even on Friday, we do every other month, we plan a date night as a surprise for the one, and it was my month, so I would be making the plans, so I don't foresee him trying to get engaged then. So to me, that weekend was out. Going into that weekend, we had just kind of finished on the tail end of having COVID for the second time. And spoiler, if you've watched my London vlog, you know I've gotten it a third since, but I digress. So we're just coming out of having COVID, and we're not really sure if we want to do our Friday plans or not, just because, again, we're sick. We don't, we already have other commitments over the weekend. And so Matt was asking oh, do you want to do brunch and maybe go walk around the monuments before Brad's going away party? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, well, my plan for Friday, if you just want me to go ahead and tell you it, was to do Jazz in the Gardens, and then, which is in DC, the Smithsonian Sculpture Gardens open up and they have jazz bands and sangria. It's really fun. If you're ever in the town in the summer on a Friday, you should check it out. But I said I want to do Jazz in the Gardens and then, take scooters and go right around all the monuments, because Matt had mentioned several months ago that he had not done the monument since he was a kid, which to me is insane. So I was making a point to do that. So Matt goes, well, why don't we just kind of combine plans? We'll do brunch, then we'll do the monuments, and then we'll go to Brad's. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And that way we give Friday an extra rest day. So Saturday rolls around, and I'm thinking my plan for the day is brunch, monuments, Brad's going away party. That was my day in my head. So anytime you get the little pop-up of could I get engaged today? I was always just looking at the logic of, no, we're going to Brad's later. And even if Matt did ask me, that would be weird, because we wouldn't want to take over Brad's things, so we wouldn't tell anyone and all of that. So I was just the logic wasn't there for it to happen. And so, we're getting dressed. Matt asked me about what he's wearing and if I like it, and I was just weird. And then again, had the pop-up, and I was just no, it's fine. So I was just he just is wanting my opinion on what he's wearing that day. Okay. We go to brunch. We have a lovely brunch. We leave. So we would go to Old Ebbitt Grill. It's a really nice spot. I think it was Matt's first time. I'd been several times before. I really like going for brunch especially, and it's right up by the White House. So we walk out, and I was like, oh, well, why don't we walk up by the White House? I think they finally opened it back up, but that day they had it shut down, so we would have to walk 2 blocks up just to get in front of it. And I was like, oh, never mind. Let's just go on to the Washington Monument. So Matt is on my left, and he goes to put his hand down, and I go to grab it, And then just that pop up in my head goes, check his pants, like look at his outline of his pants, see if you can see a ring box. So I like look for half a second, I see like something bulky, but like his phone case is really bulky because it's like one of those flip out wallet ones. So I thought I saw it, or not, I didn't think I saw it, I saw the bulkiness and I was like, it's just his phone, like why are you being so in your head about this? Like just enjoy the day with him, just be in the moment, push it aside. So, you know, I look for a second and I look away. Turns out I looked straight at the ring box. And Matt at that point was convinced that I knew it was happening. Meanwhile, I'm like, la 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 la, like, let's go to the Washington Monument, let's go walk around here. Like, I'm just in La La Land. Matt thinks I know for sure. It's like a far straight out of like a sitcom. So yeah, we go, by the way, this day was like over 100 degrees. So it was humid, it was hot, we were sweating. So we go up, we're like trying to find some shade around the Washington Monument. We go walk down to the World War II Memorial, which if you're familiar with DC, it goes Washington Monument, World War II, the reflecting pool, and then the Lincoln down here. And so we get some water, we're sitting by the trees by the World War II Memorial, and you know, just kind of relaxing. And me, I'm a planner, so I'm like, okay, well,
we can hit the Korean Memorial, and then we can hit the Lincoln Memorial, and then we can hit the Vietnam, and then get scooters, and then ride around to the MLK, FDR, Jefferson. I'm like, or we can do Vietnam, Lincoln, Korea, then get the scooters.
I'm just like making plans. Matt, meanwhile, is freaking out about what to do. And because apparently his original plan was to go to the backside of the Lincoln, but that was a far way away and it was really hot. And so he decided on the fly to change the location. So I'm like yapping away. I think he is like trying to do mental calculations. Again, like sitcom farce here. And so we decide, I was just like, okay, well, like, what do you want to do? It's like, well, why don't we go to the Vietnam? So like to go to the Vietnam, you have to, where we were, because if you're facing the World War II Memorial, looking down the reflecting pool of the Lincoln, we are off to the left side. So we have to cross the reflecting pool to get to the Vietnam Memorial. You can see where I'm going with this. So we're like walking across, we get like halfway across the bridge at the top of the reflecting pool, and he goes, oh, like, let's get a photo. And we like looked around, and the bridge had just completely cleared out. So we just like grab a selfie, which to me, I didn't think anything of, because, you know, we had been up at the Washington, we had gotten a photo up there. I was just like, oh, we're just getting another photo the other way, you know. So snag a selfie, and I like turn and I'm like, we're going to the Vietnam War, we got stuff to do, things to see. And he's like, oh, wait. And I turn back around and he is down on one knee. And then the world just like stopped for me. I was dead surprised. He got me. Again, every time I thought about it, I was like, no, it's like, I logicked myself out of it. So I was convinced it was not happening that day. It was happening next week, and then it was happening. And woo! All I remember him saying was, I love you so much. These have been the best 2 years of my life. Something, 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 and will you marry me? And meanwhile, I'm thinking, oh my God, oh, I hear the first two things, and I'm going, oh my God, and then it's just, another wave hits me, like, this is happening, you are getting engaged right now, this is happening right now, oh my God, so many people are looking, we're in such a public place, holy and it's just spinning, and I hear the will you marry me, and to me, I'm sure it was like all of 2 seconds. To me, this had been like minutes, and I'm just frozen staring at him. So my brain starts screaming at myself, you have to do something. And so I go to like lean down to kiss him, and then halfway down I go, my brain screams, you have to say yes before you kiss him. So then halfway down I'm like, yes! And then just like laid one on him because I was just so shocked of it all. Anyways, kiss him, we stand up, I'm like shaking. You know, he gets the ring on and people are clapping and I'm just in shock. And oh, before I go too far in the story, what the something was, these have been the best 2 years of my life. I can't wait for the rest of our lives. Will you marry me? The something was I can't wait for the rest of our lives. But anyways, we stand back up, I'm shaking. Matt's like he goes, okay, like, let's go back into the shade. It's like hurting me off to the side because I'm just in shock. And some girl runs up to me and says, I got photos, do you want them? And I was like, oh, sure. And then airdropped me the photos. And as a side, like, Matt didn't have anyone there to take photos because that was a specific request of mine. I've always said I don't want my photo taken when I'm getting engaged, because in the moment it's so magical, and then the idea of like me like looking back at photos and like not liking how I looked and like having a double chin or just like picking it apart, to me just seemed sad, and I just kind of wanted the moment to live in my head. But she ran up, said she had photos, you know, I wasn't going to say no to them, and so we have them. And I'm actually really glad, she's far enough away and they're like blurry enough where like I can't not like how I look, but the look on my face is so funny. I mean, you know, I was shocked by looking at those photos, and I'm very sorry. I'm not going to show them here. I have not sent them to anyone. They're photos that live on Matt's phone and my phone, and, you know, talking to people, I'll show them in person, but that's just something I want to keep for myself. Again, it's like the memory in my head, like, it's just something special for us. But my face is very funny in them. I will tell you that. So anyways, we get to the side and we sit down and the first thing Matt says is, so we're not going to Brad's. And I was like, okay. So apparently it was really nice. We just like sat down and like talked about everything, because he had spent months planning this and I had spent months anticipating it, and we hadn't really gotten to like have a dialogue with one another about that, even though we talk about everything else. So it was like nice to like finally get to like talk about it. And so he had been planning for this weekend for months, and Brad's going away was actually originally supposed to be in April, and then his move got pushed back till May, so that's why it ended up being the same weekend. And he had told Brad weeks in advance, like, by the way, sorry, we're gonna miss it, but Caitlin has no idea. So when I saw Brad like 2 weeks before this, I was like, can't wait to see you, you're going away, and he just lied to my face. In retrospect, there are so many people who knew when I was getting engaged, and I had no idea, and that's a weird concept, but I digress. And it ended up being a really good cover for Matt, because had we not had Brad's thing, I probably would have suspected it, because again, every single time I thought about it, I was like, no, we have Brad's going away, like it was always what pushed out my mind. So it ended up making sure that like Matt had the surprise that he wanted, which is great. But yeah, we just like sat and like talked about just kind of like the lead up and, you know, my thoughts on it. Also, when we were there, Matt filled me in that since we weren't going to Brad's, we were actually going out to Manassas, where his friends and family were waiting for us for like a little celebration. And it was funny, when we got out there, someone's like, oh, is this a surprise too? Matt goes, no, I got one surprise on her today, and this was not the one to surprise her with, which is true. So I was just like, okay, well, we need to get going soon. So we like got up to leave to go get an Uber, and I realized that we had gotten basically a before selfie, because again, I took a selfie and like was walking right before it happened. I was like, wait, we need to go back and get an after selfie. So we have like a before and after selfie from the big day. Yeah, we came back and I got to call my parents, and my dad knew and my mom didn't, because they didn't trust my mom not that she would tell me, but obviously if I went on a 10-minute diatribe as to why I thought it was the next weekend and she knew when I was getting engaged, there was no way she could play that cool. I don't think many people could, because I'd be lying to me. But yeah, so I got to call my mom and dad and tell them, and then FaceTime all of my friends. And basically, we get ready really quick. We go to head out to Manassas to meet up with Matt and his family. And basically the entire drive out, I'm just like FaceTiming friend after friend after friend, trying to get it all in, just because I want them to hear it from me in case someone like posted it at the event. But yeah, so then we just spent the evening with his family, and it worked out really well. And that was Matt's plan, was to spend the evening with his family that night, and then we'd get to be with my family like all next weekend to celebrate. So it was like a really nice balance of getting to do both, even though they're in different states. So yeah, that was the like big day. It ended up just kind of being small and special between us, in a very memorable place. One thing I remember, like when we were driving away home from it, I remember thinking, oh, we can take our kids here one day and be like, that's where your dad asked me to marry him, and like that's really special. So it was small and intimate, but still in a very meaningful place, and I just love it so much. It fit us very well, and it was exactly what I always wanted. I'd always imagined like walking in a park and the guy just stops and he's had it in his pocket and just asks me to marry him, you know. And I kind of got that in the end, funny enough. So, but speaking of things that I always thought that I would have when it came to like engagement and marriage, and what I ended up with, my ring. I had always imagined myself with an oval cut diamond. Just nothing really seemed to fit me otherwise. I just always liked the idea of an oval cut diamond. I have like small little hands, so I thought the diamond would like elongate them, and that's just always what I imagined. Until I literally had a dream about the ring that I ended up with. So it was last summer, and the algorithm had been feeding me engagement rings. I don't know how it knows when like you're like starting to think about that, but it does. And I guess it had been on my brain or whatever. And I had a dream that Matt had proposed to me. I have very vivid dreams, just to start this off, but I had a dream that Matt proposed to me, and I remember like when he popped the box open, it was a 3-ring setting, 3 circle diamonds, and obviously I was very excited to get engaged, and I said yes, and then I was like looking at the ring on my hand, and I was like, okay, you know, it's not what I had wanted. And then, you know, in my dream, he's like telling me like all these thoughts, you know, it's just like, I saw this and I thought of you, and it's just, you know, just like how he really put himself in, like, he saw me in the ring. And so then by the end of the dream, I loved the ring, and that was my ring. And then I wake up, as one does, gets on their phone, starts scrolling Instagram, and wouldn't you know it, my ring literally showed up. I'll pop it up on the screen here, but it was this jeweler, Ashley Zhang, and I just saw this diamond circular ring sparkle in a way that I had never seen before. I had never really liked round cut diamonds, and then I saw this one and I was just like, this is what a diamond is supposed to look like. It was so beautiful. And I like look into her, look into the diamond, and she does recycled jewelry. So basically she takes diamonds and like old diamonds from old settings and puts them into like new modern settings. And she also does like antique and vintage jewelry as well. But the main thing that she does is like recycled jewelry, which is something I was very interested in. Like, I've always wanted something antique or antique inspired. I like old things. And so I found her, loved her. Obviously I had dreamt about that ring, so I started following her. And yeah, when time came for Matt and I to like talk about you know, getting a ring and stuff, we talked around Christmas. And so I had the dream in like July, and I was patiently waiting till he brought up the subject. So he brings it up at Christmas. I'm like, here are all my thoughts. But basically, like, since I'd had that dream, that's like the only ring that I could imagine myself, because in my head, in my dream, that's what he had proposed to me with. Like, the more I thought about it, like, the more that's what I really wanted. I really wanted this style of diamond. The style of diamond was an old European cut diamond, so it was an antique. It was just beautiful how it was cut to me. So that's what I really wanted. And so I had told him that, you know, I'd really like to get it from Ashley, but if there was somewhere else he wanted to do or whatever, like, that's fine. Like, because you could either buy rings that she had pre-made, or you could custom one, or there's a bunch of different options. Actually, for Christmas that year, my mom had gotten me this pearl ring right here from her. And so I really liked her. We'd had good success with her. So that's what I wanted, but it's a 2-person street here. So kind of what we agreed on was we would go ring shopping just to see like what would look good on me, different cuts, different sizes, just so like he knew a ballpark, and then he would kind of take it from there. And so I wasn't really sure where it would be coming from or what it would end up being or all that. That was the plan. We were gonna go in July whenever we had time. And then about halfway through July, I remember it very well, it was a Friday night, we were sat at the kitchen table. It was like post-dinner, we were kind of like on our phone looking, and since I'd been following Ashley, she like a story of hers popped up, and frequently she would sell some of her jewelry just direct through like Instagram DMs as opposed to like listing them on the website. And I saw this ring that was an old European cut center stone with 2 small offset diamonds that was with a gold band. And it turns out the entire setting was antique. The entire ring was antique, but it had a modern look to it. And it was a really good price. Like, I thought I was kind of having to starting to accept that I might not get my old European cut diamond, because every time I saw them, they were just a little too high for like what we'd want to spend. And then this ring popped up and I was so shocked and I got so excited about it that I audibly yelled, and Matt was like, what? So I fill him in, I send it to him, and he was like, okay. And I was like, okay. Didn't hear anything else the rest of the day. And I was so like forcing myself to not be like, you know, these things go really fast if we're going to get it. And just us, it's like, you have to let it go, Caitlin. It'll happen. Like, whatever. Like, it's his decision. And then the next day he asked about my ring size. And we talked a little bit more. And he's like, well, is this what you really want? And I was just like, yeah, it is. And I was like, unless you want a custom one, then like, I obviously want whatever you want to create for me. And he was just like, no, I think this is good. And then we just kind of left it at that and never talked about a ring ever again. So here is the ring. I think it's just stunning. Like I said, it's an old European cut center stone with 2 old mines on the side. It fits perfect on my hand. It fits perfect with everything. I'm really excited to have just a plain gold band below it for my wedding band. I'm just so excited and happy with my ring. But it was really funny when we got engaged and we were sat down and talking. He said, oh, like, did you expect the ring? And I was just like, I mean, yeah, we never talked about another ring, so this is what I was expecting. He's just like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair. He's like, I thought about like maybe a month ago being like, oh, let's go check out rings. But then I thought that like stress you out and throw you off. I'm like, yes, that would have. I'm glad you didn't do that. But it was funny, about 2 months before we got engaged, like sometime in March, because I had known at that point he had gotten the ring and we never talked about another ring. Just I was at home, I was working from home one day, Matt was in the office, and then boom, it popped in my head that, oh my God, my ring is somewhere in the house. My very first instinct was look for it. And then I was like, no, like, because it had been on her Instagram stories, there was no post or anything to go look at again. I had seen it that one time, and I wasn't going to see it again until he asked me to marry him. And I liked that. And so I was just like, no, it's okay. We'll see it when he opens the box. But Matt loved playing this game. When I'd talk about our wedding or I'd talk about being married, he'd always say, I don't see no ring yet. Just a joke, but he always loved doing it. And one day I just was not having it. So he played the whole, well, I don't see no ring yet. And I looked him dead in the eyes and I said, don't make me go look for it. And just to watch the soul fall out of his body, just the blood drain from his face, just brought me so much joy. Because I got him. He always gets me, and I got him really good, and that just brought me so much joy. It was a completely empty threat. I was not going to go look for it, but I wanted him to be afraid. So when we were sat, and he sat after our engagement, and he said, you know, oh, were you surprised? And I was just like, yeah, like, I mean, we never talked about it again, so like I figured it would be the ring. And he was just like, yeah, I don't know. You like said something one time about going to look for it, and I was like, I was just trying to scare you, and it clearly worked, so job well done on me. But that's it. That's our engagement story, and about my ring. I love it so much. If you're interested in checking out Ashley, I'll leave her linked down below. She's really wonderful to work with. I like her taste a lot. We have very similar tastes, so I plan on getting more joy from her in the future. But for now, I'm very happy with my 2 rings. But yeah, like I said, it was small. It was not a big deal in the moment. It was more just the 2 of us, which is what I wanted. And then it was really nice to go like celebrate with our families afterwards. But that's our engagement story. I know I promised it many moons ago, so here it is. But if you made it this far in this video, thank you so much. I love you so much. Your support really does mean a lot to me. Be sure to give this video a like, double check that you're subscribed, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys. Hey y'all, welcome back or welcome to my YouTube channel.